So imagine for a second that you are a rising 20-year-old tennis star. You've spent basically your entire life zooming around these fast, totally predictable hard courts.
Right, where everything is just pure speed.
Exactly. Sheer speed, split-second precision, taking the ball incredibly early. But then suddenly, you step onto a brand new indoor clay surface.
Oh man, that is a rude awakening.
Yeah, it really is. Because your feet just don't grip the same way. The ball, it sits up instead of shooting through the court. And waiting for you across the net isn't just any opponent.
No, it's the exact opposite of who you want to see.
Right. It's a 29-year-old local veteran whose entire career, like her very biological tennis DNA, is built for the dirt. That is exactly the high-stakes, highly volatile scenario we are looking at today.
It's just the ultimate collision of contrasting worlds, you know? You've got the raw, unbridled momentum of youth slamming right into the gritty, highly specialized survival skills of a veteran.
And all of it happening right in the veteran's own backyard.
Which just makes it so much more intense.
So, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a truly fascinating first-round tactical clash at the 2026 WTA 500 Upper Austria Ladies Linz Tournament.
A really massive matchup.
It is. We are watching the Philippines' Alex Eala take on Austria's own Julia Grabher. And to help you understand exactly what to watch for, we pulled together a massive stack of sources.
Yeah, we've got official WTA stats, betting odds from Dimers and OLBG.
Plus some really great deep dive sports journalism from Tennis 365 and the GMA network, and some incredibly passionate, hyper-local fan analysis too.
Which is always the best part.
Always. So our mission today is to figure out why the specific matchup is a perfect storm of contrasting styles, how the environment changes basically everything, and ultimately, who is going to survive the mud to face Jelena Ostapenko in the next round.
You know, to really grasp why this match is so unpredictable, we can't actually start with the women swinging the rackets. We really have to look down at their feet.
Right, the battleground itself.
Exactly. The court is the main character here.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the Linz tournament has completely flipped the script. I mean, for 35 years, this event was played on indoor hard courts.
A very fast surface.
Right, but now, for the first time ever, they've hauled in tons of crushed brick. It is an indoor clay court. Now, usually when I hear indoor tennis, I think of lightning fast courts.
Sure, most people do.
Yeah, because there's no wind, there's no sun glaring in your eyes, just pure, clean, fast striking. So why does putting clay indoors completely negate that speed advantage? Like, how does it turn the game into a completely different sport?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the paradox of indoor clay really comes down to the physics of friction and humidity.
Oh, humidity.
Yeah, think about a hard court. The surface is basically acrylic over asphalt. A tennis ball hits it, skids, and maintains its horizontal velocity. It stays fast.
Okay, that makes sense.
But clay is essentially a thick layer of crushed stone and brick dust. It acts like a damp sponge. When a ball hits clay, the loose top dressing physically grabs the ball. Right, so it absorbs that horizontal speed and kicks the energy upward. So the ball bounces significantly higher and moves much slower toward the player.
So even if I hit like an absolute rocket of a forehand, the court basically just puts the brakes on it.
It totally puts the brakes on it, and that gives your opponent precious fractions of a second to track it down. Now, put that environment indoors.
All right, no wind.
Exactly, no wind to disrupt a ball toss so players can strike cleanly. But indoor arenas also trap humidity. That moisture settles into the clay, making it heavier and even slower.
Oh man, so it's basically mud.
Pretty much. So raw power like hitting a clean, flat, 90-mile-per-hour shot, it just doesn't guarantee a winner anymore. You can't hit through the court.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. The surface heavily favors extreme patience, defensive scrambling, and highly complex point construction.
If you've ever tried running a sprint in deep, dry sand at the beach, I imagine that's what their legs are going to feel like by, the second set?
Oh, easily. And you have to master the slide, too.
Right, because you can't just stop on a dime.
Exactly. Sliding on clay is a biomechanical art form. On a hard court, you plant your feet, brake hard, and swing. If you try to plant your feet on clay, you'll tear an ankle ligament.
Ouch. Yeah, no thanks.
You have to literally slide into your strike zone, striking the ball while your body is still gliding across the dirt. If a player whose muscle memory is wired for hard courts tries to play their normal game on indoor clay, they are going to hit a wall very early in the match.
Which brings us perfectly to the two radically different pieces stepping onto this slow-moving chessboard. Let's look at the rising star, Alex Eala.
Yeah, let's talk about Eala.
She's 20 years old, representing the Philippines, and she has been climbing the ranks really fast, currently sitting around number 45 or 46 in the world.
No, she did just drop a bit.
Yeah, she just dropped 16 spots after the Miami Open.
Well, right, but we should probably give that some context. That drop happened because she was defending massive semifinal ranking points from the previous year.
Ah, right, the rolling math.
Exactly. It's a quirk of the rolling 52-week math of the WTA 500 tier. It's not necessarily a collapse in her current form.
Fair point, because her start to the 2026 season tells a totally different story. She is 14-8, and she literally just beat Coco Gauff at Indian Wells.
Which is a massive statement win.
Huge. But, and this is a glaring but, sources across the board, particularly the dedicated tennis fans over on Reddit Sports PH community, they highlight that clay is undeniably her absolute weakest surface.
Yeah, it really strips away all her natural advantages. I mean, Eala is a rhythm player who likes pace.
She wants the speed.
Exactly. She wants the ball coming at her fast so she can redirect it early. The clay takes away that pace, forcing her to generate all her own power from dead balls.
And then you look across the net at Julia Grabher. She's 29, currently ranked 87th, and she is a true batter-tested clay court specialist.
She's a total veteran on the dirt.
Yeah, she holds 16 ITF titles almost exclusively on clay. And for those listening, the ITF circuit is essentially the minor leagues of professional tennis. It is an absolute grind.
No glamour whatsoever.
None, just surviving. Grabher has spent years in the absolute trenches of clay court tennis.
And that builds a very specific type of grit. You just don't win 16 minor league titles without knowing how to suffer.
Right.
And remember back in 2025, after recovering from a serious wrist surgery, she went on a 19-match win streak on clay. She won 34 consecutive sets.
That is insane. Oh, and we have to mention how she even got here. Grabher actually got into this main draw as a late replacement because Emma Navarro withdrew.
Which completely shifts the psychology.
Doesn't it? I mean, Grabher's basically playing with house money.
Completely. The psychology of the late replacement or the lucky loser dynamic is incredibly dangerous for opponents.
Because there's no pressure.
Exactly. Grabher wasn't even supposed to be here. She has 0 ranking points to defend, 0 expectations from the tournament directors, and suddenly she's handed a main draw slot in her home country on her favorite surface. She is going to swing freely.
So let's talk about those swings, because I really want to break down how their rackets are actually going to clash. The tactical matchups here are wild.
They really are.
Jelena is a lefty, she's aggressive, and analysts over at Quality Shot Tennis point out she's going to rely heavily on her lefty slider serve out wide and the backhand lob down the line.
Yeah, the backhand lob is the ultimate clay court neutralizing tool.
How so?
Well, when a clay specialist pushes you 10 feet behind the baseline with heavy spin, a deep lob buys you the time to reset your court position.
Okay.
But Grabher's defining weapon is her incredibly heavy Rafa Nadal-like forehand. Because of that wrist surgery you mentioned earlier, she actually altered her swing mechanics.
To generate more spin.
Exactly. Massive revolutions per minute, top spin. That spin bites into the clay and kicks the ball up around Eala's shoulders, which is totally out of a comfortable strike zone.
That sounds impossible to deal with.
It's tough. Though, to balance that out, Grabher has a notoriously fragile two-handed backhand.
Okay, I keep picturing this analogy. It's like, Eala's game is a high-speed sports car. It's sleek, it's fast, but it needs a smooth, predictable asphalt road to perform.
I like that.
Right. And Grabher is an off-road Jeep. She's built for mud, friction, and the grind. Now, a sports car's tires will just spin out in the mud because they apply way too much torque with 0 grip.
Spot on.
In tennis terms, that's Eala hitting a perfectly flat 90-mile-per-hour winner, only for the clay to grab the ball, sit it up, and give the Jeep all day to hit it back. So if you're Eala, how on earth do you adapt your sports car to a dirt road without crashing?
By understanding court geometry, really, and just refusing to play Grabher's game.
Okay.
Eala cannot try to outmuscle the dirt. If she hits hard and flat down the middle of the court, the Austrian's heavy forehand will just eat that pace and spit it back with even more topspin.
So she has to steer around it.
Exactly. The tactical blueprint for the sports car is precision steering. Because Eala is a lefty, her natural cross-court forehand, which is her most comfortable shot, sweeps diagonally right into Grabher's weaker backhand.
Okay, wait a minute. I need to stop you there and push back on something. Because there's a massive contradiction staring us in the face here.
Oh, what's that?
Well, the sources highlight that Grabher has a Rafa Nadal-style forehand.
Right? Extreme topspin.
But the sources also clearly state that Alex Eala literally grew up and trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain.
Oh, right.
An academy that is globally famous for its red clay courts. If she spent her formative years training in Spain, on clay, facing Nadal-style topspin, how on earth is clay her weakest surface? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's a brilliant question, actually, and it really highlights the difference between training environment and biological play style.
Okay, explain that.
Yes, Eala understands the physics of clay intellectually. She knows how topspin works because she's seen it every day in practice. But tennis is about muscle memory and fast twitch fibers.
Right.
Eala's nervous system, her hand-eye coordination, her natural instinct is to step inside the baseline and take the ball on the rise.
So her brain knows the clay, but her body just wants to play fast.
Exactly. She is hardwired for aggression. On clay, taking the ball early is incredibly risky because the bounce is uneven.
You might get a weird bounce.
Yeah, you might get a bad kick off a clump of dirt. So even though she has the insider knowledge of how clay specialists operate, executing a patient, grinding 20-shot rally goes against every natural instinct in her body.
Wow.
It requires immense mental discipline to override her own hard wiring.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Overriding your natural instincts is hard enough in an empty gym, but they are playing in a packed stadium in Linz.
Yeah, a huge crowd.
Right, Grabher is playing at home in Austria. Now, the stats show Grabher has had a rough start to the 2026 season, like a 3-8 win-loss record, mostly struggling in lower-tier events.
Right.
So my question is, does a home crowd actually help a struggling veteran find her footing, or does the expectation of thousands of locals just add suffocating pressure?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, crowd dynamics indoors are intense because the sound doesn't escape. It just echoes down onto the court.
That's gotta be loud.
Extremely loud. For Grabher, that crowd is a shot of adrenaline. When your legs are burning in the third set and you are exhausted from sliding, having 5,000 people roar for a single point you won can push you past your physical limits.
But Eala isn't exactly a stranger to pressure, right?
No, I wouldn't underestimate Eala's psychological armor here at all.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
Because Eala is carrying the weight of a completely different kind of crowd. We pulled a transcript from a YouTube podcast called Chalk Dust Tennis, which focuses heavily on the WTA.
Great source.
Yeah, and they highlight that Eala isn't just a tennis player, she is a global phenomenon. She represents the Philippines and really the entirety of Southeast Asia on the world stage. Her fan base is fiercely passionate.
They really are.
They call her the Karipunera.
And that's a heavily loaded term.
Extremely. It translates roughly to a fighting woman hero, nodding back to Philippine history. Her fans flood the live chats with words like Sulong, meaning to advance, and Laban, meaning to fight. Yeah, she is used to carrying the hopes of an entire nation on her shoulders every time she serves.
Which is why the psychological battle might actually eclipse the tactical one. I mean, clay court tennis is designed to make you suffer.
Oh, for sure.
You get tired, your shoes get caked in heavy red dirt, and you hit beautiful textbook shots that your opponent miraculously digs out and gets back over the net.
That sounds infuriating.
It is maddening. It tests your emotional control more than any other surface. Eala's ability to stay grounded to a channel that Karipunera fighting spirit without letting frustration boil over is really her biggest intangible asset.
Right, because if she loses her...
Exactly. If she gets impatient and tries to end points too early, she'll make unforced errors and Grabher will feast on them.
So we've broken down the muddy physics of the indoor surface. We've looked at the sports car trying to navigate the off-road Jeep.
Yep.
And we've weighed the adrenaline of a home crowd against the immense pressure of a national fan base. So, what does this all actually mean when the umpire calls play? It's time to look at the math and the predictions.
The betting markets are actually fascinating for this specific matchup.
They really are. Looking at the data models, Dimers gives Eala about a 60.2% implied probability of winning.
Right.
And over on OLBG, where they track expert tipsters, 100% of their top tennis analysts are backing Eala to win. Across the board, the sportsbooks have Eala as the clear favorite.
I want to pause on that 60% probability, though.
Okay, why?
Because to a casual observer, 60% might sound like a coin flip. But in the highly volatile world of professional tennis, especially factoring in a surface change, a 60% implied probability is actually a strong vote of confidence.
Really?
Yeah. It means the odds makers believe that over the course of a long, grueling match, Eala's baseline talent is going to win her roughly 53 or 54% of the total points played, which is literally all you need to win a tennis match.
Wow, it really is all about those tiny margins.
Yeah.
And the qualitative analysts seem to agree with the math.
They do.
The folks at Quality Shot Tennises predict Eala will win in straight sets, though they do concede that at least one of those sets will be a massive tight grind, probably ending in a tiebreak.
That makes sense.
Meanwhile, Tennis Talk takes a slightly more cautious approach. They predict Eala will win, but in 3 sets. They argue that Grabher's deep, specialized clay experience, combined with the energy of the Austrian crowd, basically guarantees she steals at least 1 set.
I actually lean toward the 3-set prediction myself.
Yeah, you think it goes the distance?
I do. Grabher is going to make this incredibly ugly. She is going to use the heavy topspin, she is going to use the damp indoor conditions, and she is going to try to drag Eala down into the mud with her.
Right.
But talent usually dictates the final outcome. You do not beat someone of Coco Gauff's caliber at Indian Wells unless you possess an elite, world-class tennis IQ.
That is a very solid point.
Eala has a vastly superior return game and much sharper angles. As long as she maintains the discipline to mercilessly target Grabher's weak backhand, she should survive the trap.
It is going to be an absolute chess match. So, to summarize for everyone listening, you are watching a collision of pure, aggressive geometry from Alex Eala going up against the heavy, gritty, off-road topspin of Julia Grabher.
A total style clash.
And it is all unfolding on a bizarre, damp, indoor clay surface that completely neutralizes power and punishes impatience.
It really is the ultimate test of adaptation. The physical environment is begging Eala to fail, but her recent form suggests she might just be talented enough to override the elements entirely.
And as you watch this match unfold, I want to leave you with one final, broader implication to mull over.
Oh, what's that?
Well, according to the journalists at Sport 365, Alex Eala only has 70 ranking points to defend between right now and the French Open in mid-June.
Wow, 70 points is almost nothing.
Right. That means she has a massive, wide-open window to skyrocket up the global rankings. If she can figure out how to conquer her absolute worst surface, right here, starting by dismantling a local dirt specialist in Linz, could this be the exact tournament that transforms her?
That's a scary thought for the rest of the tour.
Right. Could this be the moment Alex Eala evolves from a fast-court prodigy into a terrifying multi-surface Grand Slam threat? We'll have to see. Keep your eyes on the dirt.